Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
We're back at you, Gloves Off. I'm Paul Buitron. I'm here with George Saldana from the group Interference with Child Custody 2503. And we'll touch base on how the group was formed and this, I'm going to call it a pandemic, okay? This pandemic that runs throughout Texas that many people suffer. And it's something that is being ignored, but a lot of parents are now voicing their opinions, and many leaders in different levels from municipalities all the way up to our senators and representatives are turning around and looking at it because it is a problem right now that we're having. How are we doing, George? You doing good?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on today.
No, well, thanks for everything that you do, but I want to find out and kind of tell people your story on how the group was developed. What happened? Where did you come up with the idea that you needed to form a group and fight this?
So my personal story goes back to September 1, 2017. September 1, 2017 was the first weekend of September that I was supposed to have all my kids. And I have two baby mamas, well, an ex-wife and a baby mama. And I had never really had my two children with my ex-wife and my son all together. And so I was really looking forward to September 1, 2017, because that was the day that we were all supposed to come together, me and the three children. So September 1, 2017 came and went. It was a Friday. I had to be at two places at one time, and I went ahead and effected that. I had somebody go to one location, I went to the other, try to obtain the children, and it didn't happen. And it didn't happen for 4 or 5 months. So going out to the location, I was driving down to Corpus Christi, and I was calling the police officers, and I was, upset with the police officers. I was very upset. I had these court orders that were rendered to me in a judicial court. And it says any peace officer may use reasonable efforts within enforcing that order. So we'll get into that word may in just a little bit, but I couldn't understand how I had judicial orders that said that I could see my children, and nobody could enforce it. Nobody could enforce my orders. Nobody could, help me, tell me where my children were. I was really uneducated on all of this. And a lot of parents are, when they get these divorces, they get these court orders, they go around saying, well, at least I get to see my kids on first, third, and fifth Fridays. And that's not the case. The case is that, nobody, the state of Texas issues these orders, and the state of Texas doesn't even know how to enforce them. And to me, that's a big issue. If the state of Texas is issuing orders and they can't get on the same page with law enforcement and district attorneys and judges to enforce these orders hastily or a more quick fashion, it's the children that are being, retained from that parent and child relationship. So, after a while, somebody told me, hey, interference with child custody, that's a state jail felony that, and just like every other parent, well, they keep telling me it's a civil matter. They keep telling you it's a civil matter. There's nothing they can do. The DAs won't take charges. They'll tell you anything. Police officers will tell you anything to get you out of their face so they can go to the next call. And to me, I understand that, some of these exchanges are petty, but at the same time, I also think that there's a reason why there's a criminal element to it. So in my case, after I found out it was a felony, I started doing my research. I started, looking into first Google. I Googled Texas Penal Code 25.03 interference with child custody. I read the law. It said it was a felony, and I just didn't understand. I didn't understand how police officers just didn't want to help you at all. And so in my way of thinking, I said, you know what? I'm tired of jumping through all these hoops and talking to all these people. I'm going to go talk to the person who actually wrote the law. Right. So as I started to educate myself, I found out, how laws were written. And then I came across a very good piece of information in case law that the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, posted on his Facebook or on his website. That legislative intent is how the law is written. And to me, that was the biggest tool ever, because that tells me that however the law is written is how it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be given an opinion. It's not supposed to be interpreted, So some of these police officers were saying, well, no, that only applies to the custodial parent that can file that. It's not up to the non-custodial. So after, hearing about all of this, I researched, this law has been on the books for 48 years. And so I wanted to see who touched it last. And in 2011, in the 82nd legislature, it was touched by Richard Raymond out of Laredo, Webb County. And, with that being said, I wanted to talk to him. So I got with my state representative, my state senator. And what I did was I set up a meeting and I went to Austin. And when I went to Austin, I took guys that were very, very well more knowledgeable than I was in this subject. And we sat down with Richard Raymond and we basically told him, hey, look, you legislated this back in 2011 and it's not being enforced. And in my instance, it went to 19 months. I didn't know where my children were. I couldn't get law enforcement to do anything. I couldn't get them to help me locate my child. They were unable to do a welfare check. They wouldn't help me file an offense for interference with child custody. It was just basically, here's a piece of paper with a number on it. Go call your attorney and have your attorney find your children for you. Which to me is, every movie you watch, every TV show, it's, Criminal Minds and CSI, you don't ever see an attorney, looking for children. You always, have police officers. And in my case, they'll tell you, again, they're going to tell you everything you don't want to hear. How do you know the child's not missing? Well, the child's not here. They're supposed to be here. They're supposed to be in Corpus at 6 o'clock and they're not.
That's about the year. I'm going back to the year 2017, because what you're saying right there about the way the police react, that's when I was hit the hardest too. Okay. I had been divorced. Final divorce was in 14. Okay. And for 2.5 years, almost 3 years, I had 7 different decrees that were signed by the judge. Some had visiting orders that were different. Some I had weekends, some I didn't have weekends, some I only had, it was just a mess, okay? And these were all signed by the judge. And what happens on my case was that my divorce decree, we just had the decree, but it wasn't signed. It was never signed.
Right.
And just like all the other parents, we went in there with a different, I'm not talking about the story, and we came out with extended visitation. So I was in San Antonio with a robotics competition with my son. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the whole thing, the ex starts an argument. There's a police officer that shows up and he says, prove that he's with you. They're supposed to be with you this weekend. And I pulled it out and he goes, well, it's not signed. So they go with the mom. So that's when I started investigating the whole thing. You know, because people go into a divorce, they do not know anything when they come
Right.
out of it.
Right.
They're just in limbo. We're divorced. They don't know if the judge signs it or it's not signed. It's final. They hear that gavel, and that's the end of the story. But it's not until the judge signs a decree that the orders are supposed to be followed. Understand? There's a lot of things that can occur between the gavel and the signing of that decree.
Right.
And I'm with you with that with the police. And I've seen the police lie in front of you, threaten you, start a type of aggressive assault towards you for you to do something wrong, for them to continue with their intimidation, or even an arrest, like it's happened to many others. But we kind of calm down and we kind of go through, and thanks to you and thanks to others that were around at that time frame, you start seeing the pattern. So, and I understand where Raymond's coming from and where you all are coming from, but here's a question I'm trying to prove without going off on a tangent. How can we educate the police? Because it seems that the police are the ones that are infusing this hatred and also adding water to parent alienation, because that's basically what they're doing. And they're kind of washing off their hands like if it's nothing. So how can we educate the police?
So to us, what we've been doing as a group is we've reached out to TCLO to see if we can get some sort of continuing education done, so that police officers can understand a little bit more. We've talked to DAs in Hidalgo County, that Ricardo Rodriguez, the district attorney down there, and he said that he would, he was a former judge, and he said, that these orders need to be followed. And he was going to actually, before Christmas, get with his law enforcement agencies and go over a class with them on how to enforce these things. And to me, honestly, it's a no-brainer for me. I went 19 months, first, third, and fifth Friday, boom, 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 seeing the same officers, telling me the same thing. I feel for you, bro. Go to court, hire an attorney, first, third, and fifth Friday at the same location, 6 o'clock, boom. If they would have taken a proactive approach and told these parents, hey, look, this is a state jail felony. You don't show up next week, I'm going to file an offense report, and boom, if you get found guilty, you're going to become a felon. In and that, and I bet you 90 to 95% of these things would stop. And then those officers don't have to chase you first, third, and fifth Friday at that same location. I mean, it makes perfect sense. It's good. One, it's good for the parent and child relationship, and two, it's good for the community, because now these police officers aren't tied up at that same location at 6 o'clock. These officers know, oh God, it's first Friday at 6 o'clock. I'm going to see Mr. Saldana at that Whataburger, and he's going to be complaining. Right. And that's another issue I have with the police. I generally back the blue, I respect them. But, in some instances like this, I just think it's laziness. They'd rather just, hey, man, go talk to an attorney and go get it sorted out somewhere else. And again, this has been going on for 47 years, 48 years. So over the time period, and we've done the research, we know why it's a felony. We know why police officers, kind of disregard everybody and tell them it's a civil matter. But that's the way it's been taught for, over the 47, 48 years. So going back to how I started this, I was tired of being told that. So I went and sat with Richard Raymond at the Capitol, and we had a very good conversation. And then he set us up with the DA's Association and 6 DAs from across the
I remember
state.
that.
Yeah, we had Travis, we had Cornell County, we had Harris, Bexar County, Nueces County, and we all had this roundtable, and it was only set up for like 20 or 25 people. And I was amazed. There was like 50 people who showed up. There was only standing room. And we told our story, me and four others, basically, hey, look, it's been 19 months since I've seen my child, I can't get any help. And I had to, I hate to use the expression, I had to dumb it down. But at that point, we had so many legal scholars that have been through law school, right? And then it's just me who's able to comprehend and kind of understand or comprehend what I read. So me going in there, I was kind of like, look, I know all of you guys are lawyers, you all went to law school, but can somebody explain to me why it says it's a felony and everybody's telling me it's a criminal matter? I mean, why it's a civil matter? Everybody's telling me it's a civil, and it obviously says right here it's a state jail felony. So, like what's going on? Am I seeing things or what? And so, we heard, pros and cons of getting it enforced. And our group, we don't advocate to throw parents in jail. We don't advocate to make them felons. All right. And the way I see it is this should be used as a last ditch effort, because this should motivate that parent to follow the court order.
Absolutely.
If it has to be criminalized, if a detective or a district attorney has to call you to tell you to follow that order and you still don't follow it, that's the reason why it's criminalized, is because it's called parent snatching, parental kidnapping, which all leads into parental alienation, which damages the child emotionally and mentally. And so now, go ahead.
What I'm going to go into here is I've seen where the police blame the district attorney, and then you see the district attorney, not the district attorney, you see the prosecutors or his investigators blame the police for not filing the right report. So it's not the district attorney per se, it's his investigators and his prosecutors that are being lax about the whole situation.
Right.
I've seen it go from, we need 3, especially here in Webb County, we need 3 incident reports.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, no, you need 3 offense reports. And then all of a sudden they come out and say, no, you need 3 consecutive ones.
Yeah.
But what's consecutive, and the district attorney and I came down with that, and you were with us when we were all sitting down and we had that round table through Zoom because we had the pandemic last year. And here in Laredo, they went into a resolution that should be in the state now about giving municipalities an option before throwing somebody in jail. And it's giving them an infraction. They do not take the child, the police gives them an infraction. Whatever it is, I think it's $1,000. I think that's the municipal court. And then the second one, another 1,000. The third one, they pick them up and take them to jail. I guarantee you that if 90% of the moms in Laredo that do not, or fathers that do not want to give up their child in one of those weekends that they're supposed to, and they get a citation of $500, I guarantee you the child's going to be up and ready the next time coming around.
Right. And
you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. And again, this is all, it's petty. And most of this comes from a custodial parent. Whether you're a mom or a dad, these custodial parents feel like they wield all this power over the non-custodial. And I try to motivate my non-custodial parents by telling them, like, there's no difference between and I'm talking only in joint managing conservatorship. There's no difference in rights between a custodial and a non-custodial in a joint managing conservatorship role. Right. The only thing that differentiates a custodial from a non-custodial is that a custodial can dictate where the child lives. But in Texas, as a joint managing, if there's nothing that says exclusive right, the custodial, like my exes, we have joint managing conservatorship. They can dictate where my children live, but I still have the right for medical. I still have the right for education. I still have the right for religion. And so do they. But these custodial parents start wielding this power. Well, I'm the custodial parent. And I get thrown that all the time. And I think it's funny because they don't really know the definition, you know, they don't really know the definition of what a custodial
And
is.
you're absolutely correct. And you have some, and I've seen now, you know, because it opened up, because we all go through, we all grow up and we all see parent alienation at one form or another throughout, from the sandlot all the way up to collegiate into professional life. Okay, we see it somewhere. Somebody's aunt, somebody's cousin, they got divorced and the kids were there, and they're always bashing the father. It's usually the father getting bashed left and right, regardless if the father's sending child support or not. They're always bashing the father. The
Right.
father got you know, the mom gets married 4 or 5 different times. Nothing happens with her, but the father has a girlfriend. Look at what he, you know, this is what happened. Womanizer, blah 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 blah. They're always going after the father.
And
And
that's what I don't understand, you know.
you
is
understand
that
what I'm saying? So you see it growing up, but when all of a sudden you get into a divorce and you see it, it just kind of like, and you wake up one day and you realize the whole attack. I mean, I've seen that pettiness go from custodial parents that, you know, that through you and through others that we've talked to some, and you're like, wait a minute, but the father also has the right
Right,
child.
right. And that's
And so you have to give the father the right, or vice versa. And he goes, no, or I had one the other day that said, I don't want any child support. Okay. So I don't want him to see the child, but he still has the right to see the child. Well,
right,
you know what I'm saying?
right. You know,
So, you know, so it's never ending. So the re-education, I think right now at this point, especially with the law and the way it's concerned, is with the police and within the leaders of our community. And I want to thank you for pushing that, especially through T-close, because that's an excellent idea. But we have to see how many police officers are really going to do that. You know, I have witnessed and I have spoken with many here, and believe me, I back the blue. But when they get into this type of syndrome here, it's kind of like, you know, what are you guys doing? You know, but let me tell you this: many of them understand that it's a felony, and they tell you, and they'll blame the DA. He won't arrest, so they throw it back to the DA. So why do we arrest them? And I go, but then you're number one. Who dictates to you, the DA or you?
right.
Understand what I'm saying? So it's interesting how they throw this back and forth and they don't want to deal with it. But what's more interesting is that they claim that all the crimes that are done by our youth come because of fatherless families, and yet they don't want to enforce fathers to be in their life. And here's a law that happens, and they blame that fathers don't want to see it.
So you're absolutely right. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've been, you know, I've been told in court and to cops that I'm aggressive and I'm violent. And I think it's funny because, you know, these cops say, well, they don't want to go with you because they're scared of you. You know, dad has a reason to discipline. If I take my child's phone away, that's called discipline. It's not called abuse. And, you know, so it hurts me when I see that these police officers who know all about due process, right? You're entitled to due process. You're entitled to defend your name when allegations are made. And you're right. You know, the cops kick it over to the DA kicks it over to the cops. Another real good, simple solution. Let's have a meeting and let's hash it out once and for all. But again, we have to dumb it down.
We tried that in Laredo. We tried to have that meeting, and the police chief never showed up. You know.
You know, I don't understand what's so hard about it. It's real easy.
And all of a sudden, I'm still waiting for a Zoom meeting since last July that was supposed to be set up between the city attorney, the city manager, chief of police, the DA, and us to explain to them. I'm still waiting for that meeting to come in. So everybody's ready, but the chief.
Let me just.
That's Laredo, Texas. You know, but
okay, but let me entertain that idea. Okay, And this is just me with my tinfoil hat. Let me wear my tinfoil hat, okay? But and these are statistics from the Texas Attorney General's office himself, right? His office states that 90% of custodial parents are mothers, right? So there's no equality. We live in a world where everyone wants transparency, everybody wants equality. We live in that society now. But yet the Texas Attorney General clearly states that 90% of custodial parents are mothers. With that being said,
Sure.
right, we all know about child support. We all know that 90% of those men that are non-custodial are paying child support, right? So if we make these women felons, they don't collect Medicaid, they don't collect TANF or SNAP or food stamps, whatever you want to call it, Section 8 housing. They don't get any of those benefits anymore because they become a felon. So the state loses revenue. They lose the federal monies for all of those, you know. So when you're that custodial parent, you know, that's just me in my tinfoil hat. That's just what I think. I think that this is bigger than all of us, and I don't understand, because there's police officers that are in our same situation, and they'll tell you, you need to do it right. You need to go to court and do it correctly, Mr. Saldana. And that's absolutely like ignorant to say, because, you know, these parents, they do it over and over. My ex-wife, and I have 2 enforcements this week. My ex-wife's been told several times before the judge. She's had an oral motion for enforcement, and she's been held in contempt for 36 hours, and she's still doing it. So if I was paying for that with a lawyer, that's like 10 grand on just 3 enforcements, right? So these parents don't have 10 grand to keep feeding these court systems every time the custodial parent wants to retain. And ultimately, it leaves the child mentally and emotionally scarred. And so now the child thinks, hey, look, dad's trying to throw mom in jail again. You know, and then mom's saying, well, your dad.
That's what happens.
Yeah, your dad doesn't want to let you play soccer on Saturday with your friends. Your dad doesn't want you to go to homecoming with your friends because he says it's his right. It's his weekend. So ultimately,
your dad does, or like the way I've heard it, your dad doesn't love you you have a party and your dad's you guys have plans to go to SeaWorld or whatever, and all of a sudden your dad doesn't love you because he's not going to allow you to go to your friend's party.
Right.
That happens continuously. And that's something, you know, now I laugh about it, you know, because it happens, you hear it, you know, and it's redundant because you hear that type of, and now my kids are older and they kind of just like, whatever. And my son's very, you know, he'll tell me straightforward, hey, can I go over here? Plain simple, you're 16 years old, you know, so just be careful. But that type of alienation is continual.
Right.
What I've heard from city council people is we can't vote for that because moms are going to come after us in the next election. And usually what I say is, and I told one of them, if you're going to be that chicken shit about it, maybe we shouldn't be running, because all people here, all the kids here are the people that you're supposed to represent.
Right.
Only because they can't vote now. So I've taken another approach at the look at this, and I've kind of looked at it in a political sense. If they're playing the political game, is who's above the police chief? It's a city council or the mayor. If you have a strong mayor government municipality, then it's the mayor. So the mayor should be responsible for this. Trying to get here, George, is that the ones that we should be putting in the hot box is the DAs, the mayors. And once they understand, and they're playing this political game, once they understand that fathers, this affects so many fathers and grandmothers and uncles and cousins and so on and so forth, and they grew up with this, then you're going to have a different set of voters, which is a total different, it's a huge demographics that many people have been affected with, and those are votes. And until we get that message across, I think this whole thing will balance out unless you educate all the police in Texas, which is in my point of view, going to be kind of hard to do. So
You know, it shouldn't be mom against dad. I mean, and that's where a lot of people are attacking it. Well, I'm afraid that the moms and the ladies are going to not vote me in, or I'm going to offend the fathers. You know, this should be about the children. You know, because the mental and emotional scarring, the children are lashing out. They're joining gangs. They're looking. There's you know, little girls out there that are having daddy issues because they miss their daddy, and they're getting trafficked, you know, sex trafficked, you know, because they're missing that one piece. So instead of making this a gender issue between mom and dad, male and female, you know, they need to start saying, hey, look, let's look at the numbers. Let's look at these kids. Let's talk to juvenile justices. Let's talk to the juvenile judges and see what they see. How many of these kids, and that's what we're working on now here in Bexar County, is we are going to juvenile judges and asking them, what is the percentage of these kids that are getting in trouble that they're coming from single parent households? You know, it's important. You know, every research in the state of Texas points that having two parents involved in their children, you know, children's lives are going to make them more, you know, productive in society. They're not going to get in trouble. But you know, we started this group to help educate parents. We've rolled into educating. We've educated attorneys. We've educated law enforcement. We've educated DAs. You know, if we can get the chance to talk with the governor or the attorney general themselves, I'd like that opportunity. But it just seems like the higher government doesn't want to acknowledge this, even when research has been proven that it helps the child. And these parents, you know, we're just left in the wind. Our rights are completely violated. I'm completely, I got the police, you know, hounding me thinking that I'm abusive, all because I want to have the parent and child relationship that somebody's already given me with a valid court order. You know, these police officers, they'll be arresting my children and then complaining about them, you know, committing crimes. And they're going to say, well, that dad, he was aggressive and he was physical, you know, because he wanted to see his children. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's just a recurring cycle that's over and over and over when you remove, and I don't want to say fathers because we help mothers too, but when you remove that one parent, you know, that child needs loving nurturing from mom, and they need the discipline from dad. You know, they need to be well-rounded.
I couldn't agree with you so much. The problem is, and ladies out there that you're listening, we're not bashing in any form because it happens to women as well as it happens to men. And this happens every weekend to both. But what I'm saying is just the average person that goes through interference with child custody, 90% will be a male than a female. So with that time coming to a closure, I want to thank you and your movement for continuing the fight, because you've educated many, myself included, and you've helped out many here in Laredo. And I think we should, here in Laredo, do some type of Zoom to bring in all the other families together to kind of learn how to do it. Maybe we got some ideas we can shoot across. But I want to thank you for continue doing what you're doing, brother.
If I may make a recommendation
Sure.
for your next Zoom, what I would do is I would bring those members that we've helped there in Laredo with your DA, with your police chief, and tell them, you know, their constituents would like to address them on Zoom. And then I'd even invite a juvenile justice judge to come in and let's ask him the hard questions. You know, how many of these children are you seeing coming from single parent households? And why is it that, you know, we become aggressors just trying to preserve that parent and child relationship? Why is it that our children are headed down the wrong path, then you want to blame their upbringing. And we're the ones here fighting just to be in their lives. You know, these are some hard questions that need to be answered. I think they're very easy to be answered and addressed. But again, you know, I hate to say dumb it down, but it just seems like a lot of these intellects, they don't want to hear it, or there's something else behind the scenes that's working, you know. But that's what I would say.
Whichever way we would.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I just think, you know, that would be a cool little Zoom, you know, to have, you know, to address in Webb County, you know, is that, you know, here are some parents, here are constituents that have had this problem. You know, it's an issue that hasn't been addressed yet. We've talked to you several times. What do we have to do to address it? Period. And you have to dumb it down so much for them to understand it. Because if you start talking lawyer terms to them, they're going to start talking lawyer terms to you, right? This is real clear and simple. What do we have to do to address it? What do you want me to do? You want 100,000 signatures on a petition? What do you want? Do you want interviews from children that are being alienated? What do you want? Do you want statistics from the state that show that children prosper when they have two-parent relationship? What do you want? Come on, tell me what you want to prove to you what I'm telling you. Because I want to see what you can prove to me to show me that what you're doing is helping the children. I bet you they won't be able to produce any of those documents.
No, and you're absolutely correct. We'll set it up. We'll put it together. Once more, continue doing what you're doing. Folks, especially in Laredo, if you have any problems, give us a call. My email is buitronacademy2012@gmail.com. You can, and if you like the show, click like, click share, subscribe to our YouTube. There's 2 YouTube channels here. One is the Interference with Child Custody, 2503, and then you have Gloves Off, which you can click on that. And do so because this is how we have reached many out there. And it's your all's voice. And remember, if you have some trouble here in Laredo, contact me or contact George, and we'll see what we can do and see what we can help you. But you also have to understand one thing. You have to be understandable about what is going on. Okay? Folks, until next time, peace.
Today, in America, more than 5.5 million men, women, and children train in a martial art regularly. Buitron Academy has been serving Laredo for over 30 years now. Our adult classes are geared for producing the best in you, teaching you street-ready techniques. With the arts of Savate and Kinpo, you'll learn the traditions of these sciences of combat as passed down professor to student.
Hello everybody, my name is Senior Grandmaster Alfredo Bandalan, owner of BDP, Bandalan the Siparis. I'd like to say a few words on Grandmaster Paul Buitron. He's a man of great integrity, a man of great knowledge of martial art. He's a master of Savate and master of Eskrima. He's a man that can help you to become what you want to be. He's a man that teaches people how to be somebody in life, how to work the world, how to be happy in this world. He's a man that I can say holds many integrity as well as in martial art. But I'd like to say this man has a radio station, does hunting all over the world, and he works with all kind of people, all walks of life. And all I want to say, that Paul Buitrón is a man that can help people to be somebody in life. I'd like to say aloha, thank you.
I am Grandmaster Michael Duran of Original Hurones Criminal Federation here in Vallejo, California. Professor Paul Buitrón is an accomplished martial artist who has developed an understanding that as a caretaker, in our martial arts. It is his responsibility to keep the art alive and in depth. He acknowledged that it is the students that give the art life. I hold his friendship and his continuing accomplishments in the art in the most highest regard. Thank you.
Come train at the best kept secret of Laredo. Give us a call for your free evaluation at 956-401-4868 or check out our website at savat.biz. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook.